You ever find yourself in a meeting, or maybe at a family dinner, and you just think, am I the only sane person here? Am I surrounded by idiots? Well, if you've ever felt that way, you are definitely not alone. But according to author Thomas Erikson, the solution isn't what you think it is. Let's get into it.
This quote from the book really gets to the heart of it, right? The people who drive you absolutely nuts, they're not trying to be difficult. They're not dumb. They're just operating on a completely different frequency. See, the goal isn't to fix them, it's to finally understand them.
I mean, we've all been there. It feels like you're talking to a brick wall. You lay it all out, crystal clear, but the other person just gives you this blank stare like you're speaking another language. And that breakdown in communication, well, that's where so much of our daily frustration comes from.
To really drive this home, the author tells this amazing story about a CEO named Stuart. Now, Stuart was totally convinced that every single person who worked for him was a complete idiot. He'd called them fools, jackasses, you name it. It got so bad that his staff installed a warning light at the front desk. Red meant Stuart's in the office. Danger. Green meant, phew, the coast is clear.
And this is where it gets brilliant. The author, who was just a young consultant at the time, asks Stuart this simple question. And of course, the answer was Stuart himself. Yeah? He got tossed out on his ear for that one. But it just reveals the whole problem, doesn't it? Stuart wasn't surrounded by idiots. He just labeled anyone who wasn't exactly like him as one.
And that, right there, is the big reveal. Stuart's real mistake was assuming everyone should communicate on his terms. But the big idea here is that true communication only ever happens on the listener's terms. The responsibility, it turns out, is on us to adapt our message so it can actually be heard.
So how on earth do we do that? Well, the book gives us this really simple but incredibly powerful tool. It's a system that uses 4 colors to represent 4 main behavioral styles. Think of it as your secret decoder ring for people.
And you know what? The whole framework is actually surprisingly simple. It just boils down to 2 basic questions. Are you more focused on getting tasks done or on building relationships? And is your general vibe more active and outgoing or more reflective and calm? That's it. Just by plotting those 2 things, we get our 4 main communication styles. All right, so let's get into the good stuff. Let's meet the colors. And as we go through these, seriously think about your boss, your family, your friends. I promise you, once you see this, you are going to start seeing these colors everywhere.
First up, we've got the reds. These are the alphas, the get-it-done-yesterday types. They are all about results, action, and moving forward. Super ambitious, decisive. They love a good challenge. Think Steve Jobs, Margaret Thatcher. But that relentless drive can have a dark side. They can be seen as impatient, super controlling, and they can totally steamroll people who get in their way.
This quote, it is pure red. For them, any kind of hesitation is just a weakness. Once they've made a decision, that's it. That's the path. Debate is just a waste of time that's getting in the way of the results.
Okay, let's move on to the yellows. You know these people. They're the life of the party, brimming with optimism, creativity, and a million new ideas. They're the ones who can get a whole team fired up about anything. Think Oprah or Robin Williams. But, and it's a big but, they can be terrible listeners, they can be pretty disorganized, and sometimes they'll talk a brilliant idea into the ground without ever getting down to the nitty-gritty. This little story from the book just nails it. For a yellow, an idea pops into their head, and it comes right out of their mouth. It's totally unfiltered. It's not that they're thoughtless. It's just that for them, thinking and talking are often the exact same action. It's what makes them so much fun, but also a little chaotic.
Now, for the greens. And this is the most common type out there, so listen up. Greens are the absolute bedrock of any team or family. They are reliable, they are patient, and they are incredible listeners. They value stability and good relationships more than anything. But their kryptonite? It's change. They hate it, and they'll do just about anything to avoid conflict, which can sometimes make them seem stubborn or wishy-washy.
This quote pretty much sums up the Greens' life motto. They thrive on predictability and harmony. Any kind of sudden change or big confrontation is super stressful for them. They're not trying to be difficult, you know? They're just trying to keep the peace.
And finally, we have the blues. These are your analysts, your perfectionists. They need facts, they need data, they need time to think things through. They are incredibly methodical, they're all about the details, and the work they produce is always high quality. The flip side is that their intense focus on logic can make them seem a bit reserved, maybe even cold. And that perfectionism can sometimes lead to analysis paralysis, or they just get lost in the details forever.
Okay, this IKEA example is probably the best way to get it. A blue will read the entire manual, maybe twice before they even open the box of screws. A red? They've already got the hammer out and are just winging it. A yellow is talking about how amazing it's going to look, and a green is probably just making everyone a cup of coffee first. It's a perfect contrast.
Okay, so we've met the 4 types. Now what? What do we actually do with this knowledge? Well, this is where the real magic happens. It's all about adapting your own style to better connect with the person you're talking to.
If you're dealing with a red, listen up. Be fast. Get straight to the point. Forget the small talk about the weather or how their weekend was. Start with, here's the situation, here's my solution. They don't see it as being rude, they see it as being efficient. And they respect strength, so be confident and stand your ground.
Now with the blue, you got to flip the script completely. Don't try to charm them. You have to convince them with charts. Come prepared with all the data, all the facts, and a clear, logical argument. For them, a rushed decision is a bad decision. So give them the time and the space they need to process everything.
So when you start putting all these pieces together, it really leads to this massive shift in how you see people. The whole point isn't just to, tolerate people who are different. It's to actually understand them and even value what they bring to the table.
And here's the part that really changes the game. Almost nobody is just one pure color. This chart shows that only about 5% of us are, say, pure red or pure blue. The overwhelming majority, a whopping 80%, are a dominant mix of 2 colors. This is so important to remember.
And that leads us to maybe the single biggest lesson in the entire book. No matter what your dominant color is, you are always in the minority. Most of the people you meet every single day are different from you, which means being flexible in how you communicate, well, it isn't just a nice-to-have skill. It's a survival tactic.
So, what's our new game plan? Well, instead of jumping to the conclusion that someone's an idiot, we pause. We try to see their color. We adapt our approach to match their style. We start to see that a red's drive, a yellow's big ideas, a green's stability, and a blue's attention to detail, they're all incredibly valuable. This is how you turn conflict into actual collaboration.
So I'll just leave you with this. The next time you feel that frustration bubbling up with someone, just stop and ask yourself, am I actually dealing with an idiot, or am I just trying to speak red to a person who only understands blue? The answer? Well, it might just change everything.